BUT officials optimistic about the new school term. The agriculture minister meeting with farmers. And a seafood festival in the East this holiday.
The Bahamas Tonight Northern Edition starts now.
The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening all. I'm Megan Shepard. Thank you so much for tuning in. Topping the news this evening. In a couple of weeks, schools across Grand Bahama will be reopening for the 2018-2019 school year. A veteran unionist says he is optimistic about the year ahead and is expecting a smooth transition. Area Vice President of the Bahamas Union of Teachers Grand Bahama, Quinton LaRota, optimistic about the year ahead for the educational system in the country. During the same period in 2017, schools on Grand Bahama were still in recovery mode following Hurricane Matthew. This year, however, LaRota says that he is confident that schools will be better prepared for the reopening of the school year.
I see some of the grass and some schools have begun to be cut as they prepare to welcome the students and teachers back for the beginning of the school year. I've also had a conversation with the Minister for Grand Bahama, Mr. Kwesi Thompson, who assured me that everything that's needed to begin the school year in terms of the grounds and repairs would be completed, that they have done the due diligence and the contractors are ready to go. And so I'm pleased and I'm hoping that when September rolls around, everything would be in place.
He adds that he does not solely base his confidence in the physical structures of buildings, but rather the preparedness of teachers.
I look at, once the teachers and the students get back, how functional the school is, because it's a combination of the physical plant, timetabling, adequate staffing, and visionary leadership that provides the direction to accomplish the goals that's needed to get that a successful school year. And so those are my concerns, and I'm happy to see that it seems like we should be on track. If not, then you'll hear from me again.
For years now, the educational system has suffered with a shortage of specialty teachers. At the time of this interview, LaRota says that he is not concerned that this will be an issue for this upcoming school year.
I know that there hasn't been any recruitment from Cuba and those this year, so that will suggest to me that they have adequate individuals to fill those areas in the T&V. And so we just have to look. Sometimes teachers leave late in the summer, and the ministry may not be aware. Sometimes they are aware, and just finding the individual with those expertise may be a difficulty. We have to start as a country preparing our young people from high school to filter into some of those areas that are needed, particularly in the technical and vocational areas. And of course, the union has a task to partner with the government to try to increase the salaries of all teachers so that it becomes attractive enough that you could retain people with those specialty skills.
In just a few weeks, education for Bahamians is expected to be free at the Bahamas Technical and Vocational Institute. While on Grand Bahama last week, Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Hubert Minnis, toured BTVI's facility. He says BTVI has a number of excellent programs, commending the new Information and Communications Technology program for high school students as well. The nation's leader says there is also new policy in place within the public sector for all incoming employees.
Everyone coming into the public sector must now be computer literate, because if we are moving towards a paperless system and if we are moving towards interconnectivity with each agency interconnected with the other, as opposed to each working in silo like we have today, and the disaster we experience today with government efficiency, then everyone must be computer literate. BTVI has a program where the high school students are becoming computer literate, and they would hopefully design a program for us so that we can have all of our public service personnel enter such a program to improve and take us towards the digital era and remove us out of the analog era that we experience today.
In other news, the Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources meeting late yesterday with local farmers and producers to outline his vision for agriculture in the country. Topping his agenda, a significant reduction in the annual food import bill. Italia Hall has the details.
Vendors listened as the Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources, the Honorable Michael Pintard, shared the vision for the farmers market on Grand Bahama. He says his main objectives are to help secure the future of the country as it relates to food security and to look at ways to reduce the amount of items that are being imported into the country. He says when he was in high school, the Bahamas was importing some 80% of food, and today the country still faces the same challenge. He believes it should be a concern for all Bahamians.
What that means essentially is that for every dollar we earn in this country, 80 cents of that dollar is going right back out of the country to purchase the things that you and I consume. Not just food products, but also non-food products. And that is a condition that has to change.
The minister says the farmers market that is in Grand Bahama is not a farmers market, but a straw market with a few fruit and vegetable vendors. He says the ministry will redefine how things are done.
My recommendation and what I'm suggesting is that arrangement not continue. That we begin to look at a different arrangement where what you are producing, and even to that extent, we are producing far less of than what we're selling. We are often selling items that are not necessarily Bahamian products, but I believe it is the role of the government to empower artisans who produce handicraft, who produce souvenirs, so that they're in a position to produce an increasing quantity of authentically made Bahamian products.
Vendor Nancy Dean says she just wants to see more involvement from the ministry going forward and wants to know that someone is actually listening. She says she believes that the minister is going to get the job done.
Many of the vendors didn't show up because they're just so tired of complaining and getting nothing done. But we are grateful that he took time out of his busy schedule to come and see about us, to at least hear our concern, and we're hoping that he's the one to do something about it. As me being a vendor for more than 40 years, I think we have great potentials here in this market, and we're looking forward so that we can go into a larger scale.
Vendor Bert Donkinson says he has no electricity in his booth.
I'm limited. I have to bring everything down to the market each time I come in coolers, and even when I bring my meats and stuff, I have to have it iced down for those particular days. So it's additional cost.
The minister says the ministry's overall goal is to empower and promote Bahamians. Reporting for ZNS Network News, I'm Italia Hall.
Immigration officials arresting 2 Haitian nationals this week for breach of the Immigration Act. A female, Sheila Dosas, aged 36, was taken before Deputy Chief Magistrate Debbie Ferguson to answer to the charge of illegal landing. Dosas was unable to prove that she entered the Bahamas legally, initially claiming she did. She eventually pled guilty. She was convicted and ordered deported to Haiti. 46-year-old Sergio Nelson, a Haitian national, also charged with illegal landing. Nelson pled guilty and was ordered by Magistrate Charlton Smith to pay a fine of $300 or serve 1 month behind bars. Nelson was able to pay the fine and then turned over to the Immigration Department to be deported. Nelson claimed that he arrived in the Bahamas illegally by boat about a year ago. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Stay with us. There's more news right after this.